participatory citizen social science towards the SDGs. And for us, it is important to highlight especially the aspect of participation in citizen science projects, and especially when it comes to social science projects, collaboration of professional researchers and citizens researchers. And we want to discuss this regarding the implication to research the Sustainable Development Goals. So I just want to briefly introduce into our project. So David and David is my co-presenter here. He can join now the session, but we are members of the COACT project. It's a project that is funded by the EU on the Horizon 2020 funding line, and COACT is an acronym for co-designing citizen social science for collective action. And in this project, we have this strong focus on social science projects in the area of citizen science. And we do it in 4 areas. So one area should be that we do with citizens together research on mental health issues or mental health care. And the idea and the lead responsible for the research is the University of Barcelona with Josep Parello. And the idea is to build up knowledge coalitions among different stakeholders that are interested and affected by mental health topics. Another social science project on which we work is about youth employment. It is organized by the University of Vienna. And there's the idea that we work together with students towards coping with the threat of unemployment, or how to improve their chances of employment. A third project is together with the University of Buenos Aires. It's on environmental justice, and there is there's a city district, and that should be redeveloped. And the question is how they can integrate the citizens' perspective in the redevelopment of the city district. And finally, we have a fourth project line that's on gender equality, and there we want to extend the scope of participation of citizens in projects, and we want to do the other way down, the other way, that we invite citizen social civics society organizations that they can write a proposal to apply for fundings and support to do their own research. So some people call this extreme citizen science. We call it citizen-led citizen science. So yes, these are the 4 projects, and our interest in COACT as a whole is to put the citizens' concerns, topics into the center of the research project, to build up knowledge coalitions between different stakeholders, citizens, citizen society organizations, people who are affected from these concepts, and of course professional researchers from universities and research institutes. And we want to build a framework, for example, for participatory co-evaluation, or we want to build a methodology framework in which we present the different methods that we apply to achieve participation in social science. So that's just a little bit about the background. So I think it is a hot topic. Citizen science is mostly research that is done in the area of natural science. Even it has social implications such as environmental issues, and we want to enlarge the area of citizen science by develop new instruments to do it within the social science. We don't want to say that there isn't any citizen social science, but I think that we are it's a more at the start, at the beginning. to further elaborate on this citizen social science project. Okay, so and now I so that was a short introduction to the topic, participatory citizen social science, and now we want to come to the next part, that we have the 4 papers. And the first paper is from Francesco Mureddu. He's an analyst and strategist in innovation policies. He is at the same time director at the Lisbon Council and holds an MA in economics from the Catholic University of Louvain and a PhD in economics from the University of Cork. Larry, the paper that he wants to present is on stakeholders, engagement, methodologies, and practices for citizen social science. So, Francesco, thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much. Basically, I'm going to speak a little bit about I'm going to raise some questions and related to the use of citizen social science and engagement in general, and I'm going also to present briefly what we are doing with our project Rainforest. Basically, we start from the point of view that the achievement of sustainable development goals requires the engagement of the public and aimed to pressure business and governments to take action, but also to fostering and generating societal transformations that are required to achieve the sustainable development goals. Let's say, tracking progress towards the achievement of sustainable development goals requires the availability of high quality, timely, and accessible data, especially in areas where data are limited. And both of these requirements are fulfilled in citizen science project, which apply participatory and collaborative methodologies for implementing scientific research. But is there any epistemological difference between the use of citizen social science and citizen science more generally? Basically, most citizen science projects, as we know, focus on natural science. In fact, citizen science was pioneered in the study of physical and natural phenomena. And the first, let's say, examples make use of positivistic methods of data collection and analysis. And also, we can say that in science, normally natural sciences have a kind of most important, higher status with respect to social science, unfortunately, because both should have the same status. And also, basically, there is a transformation as reported by Chan 2011, Crow and Tyfield et al. 2017. There is also a transformation of universities into business managerial enterprises with a technocratic orientation. So basically, that's why citizen science has been more focused on natural sciences so far. But it's very interesting to explore the possibilities for citizen science in the social sciences. On the other hand, it's also interesting to subject the citizen science phenomenon to social science analysis and the social projects and open a new dimension of citizen science,
Margarita, Emilia, is it only me that can hear anything, or is it the same
I
problem
can.
with you?
No, I can't hear anything. I think that. Yeah.
Francesco, you got lost 1 minute ago. So can you hear us? Ah, that's a challenge nowadays in the
Yeah.
um, online world. So Francesco, you got lost. So no,
I think that,
he
yeah.
disappeared from the screen. So probably he get reconnected, but so that we don't have so much time spent on waiting for him. Probably Emilia, could you be the second speaker and that you can
Yeah.
jump in now, right now? Well, just tell something about you, then you could start your presentation, yeah? Emilia Aiello is Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and at the Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona. Emilia's research interests are focused on how the most vulnerable social groups organize at the grassroots level in order to overcome inequalities. And she presents her paper together with Professor Teresa Sornemati and Borges Freitas as co-authors of the presentation, and the topic is Towards the Transformative Citizen Social Science for the Accomplishment of the SDGs. Okay, yeah, it's your turn. Thanks.
Yeah, there I go. Do you see my screen now? Stefan, can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen, and you have to yes, no, yes, of course, yeah, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So good morning to everyone.
Emilia, that's the screen that you see in the presentation modus. And probably you have the screen that is for the presentation itself. Do you know what I mean?
No, you
That's
know
your
what? I can do
PowerPoint?
it without it.
Okay, then just switch on your PowerPoint so we can see your presentation in any case. Mm-hmm.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great start.
You were saying something, but I missed you. Okay, so well, good morning to everyone. Sorry, because this is, I guess that we are all navigating through these online settings, and sometimes it's a little bit complicated. So at least we can do it. That's important. As Stefan said, I'm Emilia Aiello, and I'm presenting this work together with Teresa Sornemati from the Autonomous University of Barcelona, the Department of Sociology, and Ana Burgues de Freitas from the University of Barcelona, and I think that now she's transitioning to the University of Granada. And what we are going to explain today is the work that we have been working during the last years, which is we have titled this presentation towards a transformative citizen social sciences for the accomplishment of the Sustainable Development Goals. This is just to give you a little bit of context. This is I don't know why this is just like nothing. This communication is framed in the line of research that we have been developing on the evaluation of social and political impact of research. We have been doing this especially during the last decade. So what we were thinking when trying to think, okay, what we mean by the transformative citizen social sciences, and I think that this is connected with what Francesco was explaining just before we lost him, is what are those principles, or at least not all of them, but at least what are the three principles, three ideas that we have to think when we are doing transformative citizen social sciences. So there are at least three of them, and we have been implementing them, or at least like taking them into account when doing different type of research at the national level, at the European level, and also international level projects, which I will briefly discuss after explaining these principles. The first one, when we say that in order to accomplish a transformative cities and social sciences, is that this research oriented to address the social development, the sustainable development goals, it should be from an interdisciplinary approach, of course, social sciences with other type of sciences, and always trying to analyze and to study the issue, and always at the stake of it, discussing it at the light of intersectional inequalities. What is that we can all contribute to that? The second idea, and it's what Francesco was mentioning, is how we can constitute and form research consortiums that can be in an equal epistemological level. So social sciences at the same level that other type of sciences, but because sometimes what happens is that social sciences tend to be below other type of sciences. So how we can do in order to really have dialogic leaderships of scientific consortiums. And the third very, very important principle is the inclusion of grassroots publics, and especially the most hard to reach group throughout the entire research project, since the very beginning, even when the research project is being designed, in the implementation, and also in the evaluation of the research results. And when we say hard to reach groups, it could be ethnic minorities, such as the Roma communities, but also it could be refugees, depending on which type of sustainable development goals we are trying to tackle. Of course, the research project or the investigation has to take into account that community. As I mentioned before, we have been trying to develop tools to assess the social impact of research, which are already doing this. As a result of this, we created SEOR. The SEOR is a social impact open repository, which you can all check on that and Google, and it's going to appear. And the idea is that in SEOR is linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. So there is all the projects that are already in SEOR are projects that have been selected because they have contributed somehow to the achievement of one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And just because I don't want to, I'm aware of the time, we have been doing this, as I mentioned, in different EU-funded projects and also national projects in the fields of, for instance, gender violence prevention, in the field of inequalities and racism against the Roma community, or in the field of education or working cooperatives, and always and in all these projects, these three principles that I've mentioned, and which the idea is just to open the debate, open them for debate with you, have been included. Just to end with, right now we are working in the project All Interact, which is also focused on the sustainable development goal on education and gender. And in 2021 is going to start the project Refugee, which is also going to be guided by the same principle. As I'm also 5 minutes, I leave it here, and happy to share and discuss with you what I've mentioned so far. Thank you.
Emilia, thank you very much for this clear and interesting presentation. So I wrote down a few points, and I'm really looking forward for our discussion soon. But before we start with our discussion, and hopefully we get reconnected to Francesco, who I guess got totally lost here. in the digital world. But Margarida Romero, that's the next speaker, and she is a research director of the Learning Innovation Education, a research lab in the field of technology enhanced learning. She's full professor at University Côte d'Azur in France and associate professor at Université Laval in Canada. Here, her research is oriented towards inclusive, humanistic, and creative use of technologies. And her presentation is on addressing the sustainable development goals through the design of digital games by middle school, high school, and apprentices. Thanks, Margarita. I'm happy to have you here. It's now your turn. Margarita, are you here around so I can just see your blank screen without any?
Yes, sorry. I will move the place just a second because it's a little bit noisy here, and I'm because for hearing you it's not a problem, but for presenting, just a second. Yep. Wait, just I need some. Okay.
So that's truly live.
Yes, sorry.
Calm place.
First of all, I will to show you the beautiful campus here in Nice. Then this is our place that I hope in a certain moment you can visit too. And I am very happy that we can have this session because in France it's quite new, all the aspects in sustainable development, and we are a bunch of colleagues here in Nice who are very interested in advancing in this direction. Then the project we want to share with you is about game creation in this topic, and then I will share the presentation through here. Sorry, up. Can you confirm that this is correctly seen?
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Then our objective is to address the sustainable development goals who are not on the curriculum in France. Okay, and at the same time to develop the case.
Margarita, your voice disappeared. No sound. Disappeared in the digital numbers, zeros and one. Is it the same for your screen?
At the bottom of your
screen, she's back.
At the bottom of the screen, there's a microphone. I think on it.
I guess. Is it so for you as well, Emilia? Can you hear anything?
Yeah, I can't hear anything. I can hear you,
okay,
Stefan, but I can't hear you, Margarita.
At least.
Yeah.
So Margarita, we lost your voice, your sound.
Is this correct now?
Yeah.
Yes. It resumed.
Then, okay, very sorry about that. Then yes, our our main objectives here in SPE, we are on the Faculty of Education. Then our big mission is to help future teachers to learn about the program. but also going further the program, because in the curriculum, all the aspects that are the Sustainable Development Goals are not integrated at this moment. Okay, but this is not a reason for not going in this direction, because there's a lot of opportunities to work on Sustainable Development Goals based on other aspects that are already in the curriculum. Then what we did is to engage kids from different ages, but also young adults, in creating games related to the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, then this project started in Canada, then now is in France, then we are collaborating in these two places. Then some images of Canada, and some images too of the challenges of creating things when you are on extreme weather conditions. And this is very funny. When you can even use technologies in the snow and address the challenges on the way to use technologies. Then first question, should kids use technologies? And are technologies good to integrate in the schools? Because technologies are not are also something that is using resources, that is also a source of contamination also. Then technologies are something that at least in France, a lot of teachers are very critical about. Okay, then in this direction, we are not saying yes or no on the use of technologies. We are considering that we have like two kinds of paradigms. One paradigm is the paradigm of citizens as ICT consumers. Okay, is when kids are referred only to use apps for going into onto different contents. But there's limits. There's the representativity of these contents, because these contents are made by a certain type of persons, often men, middle age, and then there's a lack of representativity in the content that is offered, but also obsolescence, because technologies change, and then content you can that is useful at a certain moment, and after it's not working on another platform, well, you know, all these kinds of problems. The other paradigm, that is the paradigm we are working on, is citizens as ICT co-creators. And the idea is that our society has so many challenges to solve that one way to solve these challenges is to consider a diversity of technologies. When we consider diversity of technologies, not just digital technologies, we are considering using whatever is recycled materials, tinkering things. Then the idea is like a messy place with a lot of things, then a makerspace, Fab Lab, or this kind of approaches, in order to engage kids in creative problem solving with technologies. This is our paradigm, and then when we help future teachers to differentiate these different types of use of technologies, we are on the one side considering there's this passive ICT usage, only just going on YouTube videos. An interactive ICT usage that in well, applications in there's different choices to be made by the students. But what we are interested for a citizenship that is a creative problem-solving citizenship is content creation, but also artifact creation and participatory knowledge and artifact co-creation. In the paradigm of participatory knowledge co-creation, the idea is that we take one challenge in our community. And here in Nice, if you have been here, you know it's a beautiful place, but we have a lot of traffic jams. Okay, then we take one problem of our community, traffic jams, and then we engage kids in solving this problem by creating models with different robots and different aspects, and trying to solve a problem of the society through the use of different technologies. This is the paradigm we are embracing, and we are having a lot of fun, because when kids are approaching saying, we adults, sometimes we solve problems individually quite well. Sometimes we successfully work in small teams to solve problems, and sometimes this works. But as a society, we are really stupid problem solvers. we don't know how to solve problems that are at the social level with a lot of complexity, like a traffic jam. And kids are amazed because they say, but the traffic jam is super simple to solve. It's just about making persons going to work and to commute on different moments. And then they create a model that solves the problem, okay? Then kids are very, they have not the same constraints we are having as adults, because as adults, we have internalized a lot of constraints. That means that work should be done in these different type of timetables, that we should go to work. Now well, this paradigm is being changed, but kids are not having all these constraints. Then for societal challenges, kids are a key aspect of creativity in creating new solutions. Then this is why on these approaches of game creation, creating artifacts, and all these aspects, what we do is to engage kids. Sometimes we engage kids and families, then intergenerational approaches in proposing them societal challenges in order to solve the problems that we adults, we are unable to solve. Okay, this is the type of resources we provide to the community, then learning activities that are based on the one side, unplugged computing activities, creative robotics, creative programming, digital comic creation, creative electronics, but also what kids love a lot. This is the 3D creation activities in order to create models. And you see Minecraft, maybe some of you use this amazing tool for modeling solutions. Okay, one aspect also is we are very committed to gender opportunities in the field of technology. And in France, this is just terrific, because only 10% of the high school option in computers, there's a high school option in computers, NSC. These programs is only chosen by 10% of girls. And this is dramatic. Then the actions we are doing at the Faculty of Education and in the lab I'm directing the line, we are really stressing the opportunities for girls to be represented and to be models for girls to consider that this kind of work is also for them. Then in the type of materials, this is a children book we created with another colleague, and in this book we showcase Ada Lovelace, you know, the mathematician, tea lover, and first programmer on the history. And we show also persons who are very tech savvy, and that are girls and boys, and everyone can be tech savvy, even older persons. Okay.
Margarita, so that we have enough time at the end, so could
Thank you.
you wrap it?
Yes, then it was the key ideas. Then it's just saying that when we are considering programming and these kind of activities, the most important thing, and this is the last elements on here, the last part of the last level, we should consider that it's not just learning about the technology, it's creating through the technology. That is the last messages I wanted to share with you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm glad to have you here and looking forward to our discussion. So the last paper, it is presented by David Scheller and me. Run. So there we are. Okay. David and I, we both work at the University. Yes. Just want to check. So, and we do a lot with participatory research methods. We had different research projects, and we want to initiate a debate about principles for citizen science, and we condensed our approach and our view on the methodologies side in 7 principles for citizen social science that we want to throw into the debate about what are the characteristics of citizen social science. And I just want to mention very briefly the 10 principles of citizen science that are already there and that are broadly discussed. You can find it here on the EXA, European Citizen Social Association website. And the 10 principles are, and I go through it very fast. It's active citizens' involvement in the research project. The project should have a scientific outcome. It should be there benefits for both sides, professional scientists and the citizen scientists. Participation in multiple stages of the scientific process. That means research design, research question development of instruments for data collection, and the data analysis and dissemination. These are the different stages, and we should think about participation in all these, or at least a few of these stages. Then citizens feed from the project, scientific approach, a commitment to open science, acknowledgement of citizens, that they are presented as co-researchers in the project. Then evaluation is a really important topic, especially in citizen science. ZSI in Vienna, the Centrum for Social Innovation, Center for Social, they work on this, and they have amazing solutions, suggestions to evaluate citizen science projects and legal and ethical issues. So this as a very short reference, and we want to think if we need more specific principles in this when it comes to citizen social science, and we don't want so it should be, in our view, more an extension. So we want to stick to the 10 principles, and probably we wanted to discuss with you as a community if we need probably a few more. And the first principle, or the first thought, is citizen social science focuses beyond the objective givenness on the social construction of social reality that requires interpretation and understanding of social cultural meaning, communication, and social action. And that's, for us, the first thought, the first idea or point that we want to make. So if we do research in natural science and we want to measure the brightness of stars, so we have objective measurements. We have a theory of measuring those events, those facts. But we don't have on the same level facts in social science. So I have here the Sustainable Development Goals, and broadly, if it comes to poverty or to gender equalities or reducing inequalities, it is not an objective definition. What is poverty about? What is gender equality about? And if we want to know what poverty is, gender inequality, equalities, diversity, then we have to go to the live world, to the people, to the citizens, and we have to discuss with them what is it about, and to get an understanding how is poverty understood in society. And it's obvious that it's totally different for global south, or here I'm from Berlin, or I examine poverty here in Berlin. I guess we get totally different definitions of poverty, and even here in Berlin we get different poverty definitions. And so we should start with these definitions from society, and then it should come to science. And I want to elaborate further here on the next principles. So what I already said is that citizen social science should take citizen social concerns and issues at its main thematic focal point. As a researcher, I'm not in the best position to know something about poverty. So that's the reason, well, gender equalities, yeah, that's the reason that it could be really worthwhile to do citizen science, citizen social science, to build up, and that's a really nice notion. I think from the team of Josep Parello in University in Barcelona, we should build up knowledge coalitions where we have the different stakeholders, and even there's not the one citizen with the one definition of poverty, but there are very different stakeholders with different definitions, and we have to bring them to table to find a generalizable definition in which the different definitions are included at the same time. And I think that should be the task of social science. Yeah, the point of finding a generalizable definition that at the same time includes the particular definitions of the different stakeholders. So, but we should start with the social concept. Third point, citizen social science aims at practical relevance of the produced knowledge that have social impact and envision social change. Yeah, for me as a scientist, it is not so important that the knowledge that I produce, that it has social relevance. It could really basic, that if we work together with citizens, they are not interested at the first place to provide the expertise for a purely scientific project, but they want to get answers for their social practices as well. So that's the third point. The fourth point is citizen social science considered citizens' participation as key features of all stages of the research process. And we have quite often this discussion, and it is at least our point of view that we want to bring forward a strong notion of participation, because when we say that poverty, gender equalities depends on the definition that is already there in the life world, in the everyday life among citizens, then I think we have an enlarged importance that the people participate to bring in their different perspectives into the research project to get a general or common definition in these citizen science projects. Fifth, citizen science sets up communicative spaces for mutual exchange and understanding in the knowledge coalitions. That's really important for us. So in our view, the strength of science is to do something extra every, it's a distancing practice to get a second view what we do in our everyday life, and that we set up communicative spaces to interrelate this, to talk about this, to find creative methods so that we can interrelate the different definitions to come up at the end in the research project in a more generalizable definition. Sixth, citizen social science qualifies citizens and social science theories and methods. Yeah, and that is important for me, that that the collaboration in the knowledge coalitions, yeah, I think from the side of science, we are responsible to bring on the social science theories and the methods as distancing practices to get a second view on all on these issues that are already defined in the everyday life. Yeah, we all have not a theoretical or scientific definition, but we have a definition of what is poverty about. And seventh is citizen social science is particularly aware of the ethical responsibility to reflect and to prevent power disbalance, to include the diversity of perspectives. Yeah, I think that because we are concerned as a researcher and as a citizen by the research topics, we have an enlarged responsibility to prevent any power disbalances, so that everyone can include his or her perspective into research project. So thanks for your interest. These were our 7 principles. It's just a starting point, a proposal, and we are quite keen to get into discussion with you about our idea what a citizen social science could be about. Thanks. Okay, now I have to switch my role. Now I'm again back here as chair. So I would love to discuss it with you. Unfortunately, we lost Francesco, but we three are here. Unfortunately, you as an audience out there in the digital world, I don't think that you can join us via video and voice, but I have a sharp look at the comment section and I try my best to include your questions, your discussion points into our discussion. So, but Margarita, Emilia, digital social science, what is it about? So,
do you want Emilia?
Sorry?
No, I was waiting if Emilia wanted to answer. If not, I will jump into the cold water. No problem. But from my view, and I'm from psychology of education. I'm not an expertise on citizen science, but the way we approach that is that science is a tool for society. And science is the way our society creates knowledge and advance in solving challenges. Then the fact that this cannot be reduced to some person, as Stefan, you were saying in your talk, when we are just on the role of researcher without connecting with the other actors, this is very limiting. Then we need to consider science as something that is a societal adventure that we need to do together. And I'm very worried at this moment about how intelligent persons in many countries can go through misinformation and fake data, etc. That means also that this is not something that is already won. We need to work on making sure that everyone understands the scientific method and the way the scientists work, because there's a risk that is if the population starts considering science as something that is not related to them, they will start also not hearing what scientists are doing. Then I think there's a lot of work to be done to make science more inclusive.
Margarita, we are in the age of alternative facts. So why the strong claims that we need science? So probably every one of us has a truth in its pocket and could put it out. Emilia. So.
Yes, I think that what you both explained is very relevant. Is the example that you explained of your research, Margarita, is very concrete, and I think it is very interesting because it's just like, well, for instance, the role that children can play in this, and what you explained, Stefan, is much more broader, and how we can think in the terms of the principles, and how we can think in a broader perspective. And I think that this idea of if we think in having a society or a citizenry which is literate in the scientific methods, that's very relevant. It's very relevant in terms of has to just have in order to know how to better navigate the current time, for instance. And I think that, of course, this is going to the role that researchers have in order to be able to interpret what's going on right now. For instance, our role, it's of huge relevance, but at the end, at the end is like how we can also be more humble in order to say, okay, what's the role also of the different publics of the society. And I think that we have a very interesting opportunity right now to be able to better communicate and to be able to better explain what science is, what do we know, what do we don't know. And I think that if we are able to do that, and if we are able to construct these different allies with other scientific communities, it's going to be a win-win opportunity for all of us. And I think that citizen science, of course, is a tool for do that, but at the same time is a venue for this. And yes, I think that also this probably the 21st century term, scientific term, is this idea of being more humble and better incorporating the different publics.
Right, thanks. I just had a view on the comment section, and Christina, she asked the role of theories for different stakeholders. So have to team up. So my question is against the populists, the right-wing populists, or together with them probably. Yeah. So
yeah,
or,
I think there's yes, it's a very important question, because we see in our public of future teachers that there are sometimes some epistemological beliefs that are about there's one truth, there's one theory for that, and then this kind of being able to consider that a theoretical model is a model and it's not the truth, is a model that is the best at the current stage of the state of the art, but it's just a model, and there could be even different models. And just an example, in the learning science, there are sometimes the idea that social constructivism could be better than behaviorism, and it is better than connectivism, etc. And that a lot of future teachers that initially they start making the opposition between these different paradigms. And what we show them is that each of these paradigms in different tasks at different moments, they are highlighting aspects that exist. That is not about an opposition between these different theories, but it's about probably reality is more complex, and these models are just small pieces of interpretation of the reality that are not necessarily wrong or true. We are not on a binary way of relating to knowledge, but we need to develop a more complex thinking approach to science. And this is a big challenge, because in the society of digital easy information, persons want things that are very fast, and thinking correctly requires more time and considering more complexity.
I think also something relevant and that citizen science can bring into this is that the way to combat anti-science initiatives is not just to better explain how scientific methods work. It's like, okay, there are things that we know, as I said, there are things that we don't know, but also to try to, we need to approach people in a more egalitarian way. Say, we need to be more humble. We need to go where people is. Go to the where to the neighbors, where the people is, and embrace them with our stories. I need to go there myself as a researcher, but also myself as a person who is involved in other initiatives. Myself as a person who is also involved in a Roma Women Association, who has also other interests. So I'm explaining this as a researcher, someone who is able to understand how science works, but at the same time, someone who is concerned with poverty, with gender, with other things. Just bringing this the values into that. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to really communicate what we want to communicate, because of course right-wing and populists are going to engage with fear, but we have to be able to engage with hope and with other values that we know that that can mobilize human agency for a more transformative end. I'm not sure if I'm explaining what I want to say, but see.
Yeah, it's a really hard problem from my point of view. So the right-wing populism, it's partially a phenomena of the excluded from the official public sphere, and they organize themselves in the digital world, through their own channels, 4chan was mentioned, and so on, so that they raise their voices. That couldn't be a problem, and in a citizen science project, they should be addressed as well. Of course, they are citizens. Otherwise we would say no, you're not allowed but it's a challenge, yeah, to have these opinions that are opposed of diversity, of individuality, and yeah, they have these resistics, opinions that threaten human dignity. Yeah, so and if we work at for open society, yeah, I think we should be opposed against this, and so I see that we should team up as researchers. But I think we must leave a communication channel open to all citizens. And yeah, I don't have an answer how to achieve this, but that's is the idea that I have to this. Yes, there was the theory part. Yes, I think that we have so many theories, so many paradigms in science. So it's quite interesting to use all these different ideas, and all these different ideas are quite elaborated, and that's the strength of science. It's not the first guessing or something that I got up after thinking through it about a few hours, but we have researchers who have done research about decades on an issue such as poverty. Yeah, and so I guess they probe deeper into it, and it's not the first idea. And I think that's a strength of scientific theories. And so, but it's important that we have to discuss it with the ideas that are relevant if I'm a citizen, and that I have to cope in my everyday life with it. So as a citizen, I must have a pragmatic orientation towards life. I can't do a 3-year-long research project on poverty if I'm affected by it. Yeah. So these are different modes of knowledge. Yeah, and both modes have the interesting thing is to bring both sides together. Yeah. So I can learn a lot as a researcher, and I hope that citizens can learn a lot from their perspective. And there was Guido, he asked, so my 7 principles are more from a scientific perspective. Yes, of course, I'm a scientist. So, but I want to invite the whole community, discuss it. And I'm not the expert in articulating the perspective of civil society organizations, of citizens who want to do citizen social science. But please bring in your perspective, and probably you have totally different ideas what is important. And so I think that should be more an open discussion than that I want to set 7 principles and these are, I don't want to discuss it anymore. Yeah, but we should be aware of our different perspectives that we have. And yes, unfortunately, or fortunately, I have the scientific perspectives. It's mine. So, or at least that's the position from which I argue when I'm now here as a professor of a University of Applied Science. So, yes, but that's an interesting part for me, to go into the world and to be engaged with people who want to bring forward the social lives, the society, in their social practices. Yes. So, Margarita, Emilia, it's your turn now. I just want to check what the comment section tries to bring in, and
yeah, fully agree on that. And I was also reading on the comments. For example, Catherine is totally on that. Is really being inclusive, going, as Emilia was saying, going near where the persons are. Then don't expecting. Well, one thing that was really crazy, it was taking awareness that a lot of persons consider university a place they will never go enter. Then entering the university for the campus is at least in France considered by some persons a place they don't belong to. Then there's an important aspect is that how we can hold events, when we can hold different activities in which the citizen can come to the campus, especially when the campus is not in the place it in, integrated in the city, in order to consider that this is a place they belong to them too. Then how the campus can be a part of the city, and also how we organize things because this is a barrier also for a lot of kids from underprivileged areas. They consider the university is not for them. This is a place their family has not been. This is a place they don't belong to, and this is a place their parents could be even afraid to enter. Then how we open these spaces for everyone in order that all kids can imagine they can go through higher education.
Great, thanks. Emilia, do you have one more point?
Are we out of time?
Yes, we are. So
no,
Thomas?
Just totally agree with you, Margarita, what you're saying. Yes.
I just want to give an answer to Thomas in the comment section. I don't want to educate the citizens because I know it better. Yeah, but I would say there are two different knowledge systems. The one knowledge system of the pragmatic everyday life. I need pragmatic solutions to the things that challenge me, yeah, for my action. And in science, I have more theoretical explanations, descriptions of the social world. I'm a really bad practitioner as a scientist, but that's not my job. My job as a scientist is to get more distance and to get a second view on it. So I don't want to say that I have a better knowledge. These are two different knowledge systems. And the interesting thing is to interrelate both, because I'm abstract, I'm theoretical. Yeah. So that's, I guess, from my point of view, the achievement of science, to get a general description of the world. But I don't have so good solutions for concrete problem solving. And that's, but as a citizen, as an everyday person, that I'm even as well as I'm a researcher. Yeah? So I need these answers to the challenges of my everyday life. And I can't do a research project on it. So, but interrelating to learn from each other, that could be really quite interesting. So that's at least my point of view. I think there are so many different views on participation, collaboration, but yes, I just want to put in here my 2 cents to this debate. So Emilia, Margarita, who wants to have the last words for our session? Do you have a last point? So I totally enjoyed this. I didn't expect that goes so smoothly to have this open table discussion here. I'm really sad that we lost Francesco. I'm really sad that you as an audience couldn't raise up your own voice and to discuss with us, but we have these COVID restrictions, and so it's so amazing that we have the opportunity to communicate with each other even under these restrictions. I thank you very, very much. I'm quite happy that we had discussed here the citizen social sciences, and I think that in the next years, so there is a rising, there will be a rising interest to do more citizen social science. Probably we are still at the beginning, at the starting point, but even all the open science initiatives, I'm really looking forward what we can expect as a researcher, as a social activist from this discussion in the future. So I think thank you, and yes, have a nice conference. Thanks to the conference organizers. And bye Margarita, bye Emilia, bye all.
Right. Thank you very much for the organization.